Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, we take a look at all the top political stories around the state. Also, the V-Team is looking at Obama-Mania that's sweeping Alabama. And Speaker of the House Mike Hubbard sent five criminal defense attorneys to the Barrymore hearing. Who is he protecting? All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by the V-Team. Welcome all.
Good Sunday morning, Memorial Day weekend.
It is a great time to be in Alabama. So much going on in politics. One of the big issues that is facing our state, though, that has been a political hot button, is the expansion of Medicaid. New studies show that the state is losing almost $4 million a day, and yet Governor Bentley and the Republican supermajority says no to those federal dollars. What's your take on this, Charlanna?
It's exactly what we've been talking about for the last several months. I don't see there being any change in that position for Governor Bentley or for the Republican supermajority. The $3.9 million figure that you just talked about came from the Deputy Secretary of Health and Human Services. And it's a valid point. I mean, one of the things we've talked about is for the years 2014 to 2016, Alabama would receive 100% matching. From 2020 on, it would get 90% for the Medicaid dollars. And I know that's the big issue is folks like Governor Bentley say, how can we trust that we will get 90% when you look at the federal stimulus program and the flaws with it and some of the other federal programs?
But haven't some of our sitting Congress people said recently there's no way to get rid of Obamacare? I mean, Rogers has said it and someone else said it the other day.
People have been articulating that message here lately, so.
Well, there's no way to get rid of Obamacare at this point, I don't think, absent a seismic shift in the composition of the Congress. What the question is can we financially afford even the 10% after the few years is run up? Once you get people hooked onto the dole,
that's correct.
You can't just go kicking them back off. There are federal constitutional issues there, and in addition to that, there are moral issues. You know, people rearrange their lives to the benefits they're receiving. Right. And if people rearrange their life in anticipation of getting an accepted benefit, and then 3 years from now you go, just kidding, and you pull the rug out from under them, you have moral problems there. And so, can we afford it financially? Can we afford the 10% that it'll cost us? Can we count on the federal government giving us the 90%? There's nothing in the law that says they have to do that. They could change their mind tomorrow. That's a regulation. And the third thing is, what about the moral ramifications of this decision? And I think those are the things Bentley's weighing.
Well, you've got those two spectrums, and then you've also got, we've had previous governors that just said, okay, we'll just take all the money this year, and we'll deal with the problems later. And then, like what Barron says, you've got the moral issues, that sort of thing. And the problem is the budget has been so strapped, particularly for Medicaid and corrections. And you're absolutely correct. I don't know that we'd have the 10%.
But the problem, though, is that regardless of whether we accept and expand Medicaid, one of the issues is that there are going to be an increase in the number of people that appear on Alabama's Medicaid rolls.
Absolutely.
Because of the increased awareness, because of the increased information that's out there. And so we're going to see a bump up. Can our general fund afford that bump with no help from the federal government?
Well, our general fund can't handle it. It's normal obligations.
Right, but to your point, no. The answer is no.
Right.
We can't afford it without some kind of change, either an increase in revenue or a cut in costs somewhere. We will be unable to balance the general fund.
And I just heard a Republican say an increase in revenue.
Well, you got to have one or the other. I mean, if you can't afford your budget, you either increase revenue or you decrease expenses.
Well, we need to do what George Wallace used to do, and we expand fees.
Well,
they've expanded fees.
Excuse me.
That's the way the Republicans have gotten around this, is by not increasing taxes. They have increased fees in a lot of different areas.
For the last 3 years, this legislature that is still intact today have had tremendous, they're going to say we didn't pass any taxes, but they have feed every industry to
Oh,
death.
yeah.
I mean, it's just a hidden tax.
Speeding tickets, $300 now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean,
they
well,
run it up.
You know, you can put more fees on cigarettes, more fees on booze, more
Well, they're not
fees
going to
on
do that.
marriage
They're not going
license.
to tax booze and cigarettes. They're not going to fee increase those, but
No,
everybody else they
there's
have.
too much money
Those are
going.
donors.
Those are donors.
Those are big time special.
Speeders are not donors.
Those are the special interests we love.
Right.
Well, you know,
Well, excuse me, I think those special interests have been pouring lots of money into the coffers of some of them.
Yeah.
Alcohol and tobacco, we've
Yep.
seen
Yeah.
a significant increase in
Yeah.
the last couple of months in PAC contributions.
well, and
industry of
it's
sins.
helped out. You know, there's more fewer booze regulations now than ever. We need to move on to the next subject, which is we pour money into lawyers like there's no tomorrow. And we
Thank you.
love
Thank you.
to
I
invest
appreciate that.
in our attorneys in the state. We just had to pay the Southern Poverty Law Center another, couple $100,000 because of HB 356, our failed immigration policy. I mean, how much money is enough?
Well, unfortunately, we have seen there again, in the last 3 years, our conservative legislator passed these laws because they think this is what resonates out there with the voters, whether it's immigration or abortion. We push these laws so far to the right to the point of they violate people's constitutional rights. So then the state has to turn around, and you're right, we've got to defend this, got to defend these laws and pay all these lawyers. It's a little bit unconscionable to me. I mean, we know what's too far.
Well, and now we know, I mean, it's a good segue into another topic that we have to talk about this week, and that is there is a lawsuit that is a trial that's actually taken place in federal court this past week over the abortion bill that was passed last session, where you have, these groups fighting over whether or not there are constitutional violations. And so there's another example of having to pay attorney fees.
Yeah, I just think it's a little bit egregious when people knowingly and willingly pass these laws and then know that the state has got to turn around and defend them and spend all this money when we don't have money for Medicaid and corrections.
Well, it gets votes, but people also say, well, this is our moral responsibility, daring to defend our individual rights here as a state. Some folks that think their rights have been violated is the folks in Greene County. You know a lot about this. The unemployment rate in Greene County is through the roof now that they've went after bingo down there. I mean, these people are really they're suffering because of this.
And my usual disclaimer is that I represent one of the bingo halls in Greene County. And what we see is from April of this year compared to April of last year, the unemployment rate in April of 2013 was like 9.8%. As of April of this year, after the last bingo rate, it's 12.7%. Greene County was the one county in Alabama that saw an increase in unemployment. And the problem is when you look at a county with a workforce of just a little over 3,000 people, if you take away 100 jobs, 200 jobs, 800 jobs, it has a devastating impact in the community.
Well,
these are poor communities.
It is, and it's not just Greene County. This is a black cloud all over the state of Alabama. Right. Alabama was the only state out of all 50 states. Let this sink in. The only state in the entire United States over the last 12 months that had rising unemployment.
Right. And everybody's been out there beating the drum that we've been creating jobs.
The facts don't bear that out. We're losing jobs. We're net negative since December 2010 when the supermajority took over. We are net negative employment since then.
We're going to have to stop it right there. Coming up next, Obama-Mania is sweeping Alabama. You don't want to miss it. You're watching The V.
The V is sponsored by Jonathan Barbee for Public Service Commissioner and Mediaworks Communications video production services for all your video production needs.
I make sure to get your kids to school and home safe every day. I am AEA.
I make sure your child receives a healthy meal each day. I am AEA.
Thank you, AEA, for protecting our public schools and our futures. We are AEA.
Welcome to Alabama's newest entertainment destination, Wind Creek Wetumpka, the perfect escape for date night, a getaway with your friends, or a relaxing poolside cocktail. Whether it's a day trip to enjoy the best steak in Alabama or a romantic weekend, the finest Southern hospitality is just a short drive away. Wind Creek Wetumpka. Find your winning moment.
Jonathan Barbee is the only PSC candidate to take a stand against Obama's liberal energy agenda.
I've directed the Environmental Protection Agency to set new standards that put an end to the limitless dumping of carbon pollution from our power plants.
Let's face it, we're all tired of Obama's liberal agenda. Now he's threatening to shut down Alabama coal plants and raise our utility rates. I'm Jonathan Barbee, and I will stand up to Obama's costly energy plan, and I will fight to keep Alabama jobs.
Strong, conservative leadership. On June 3rd, vote Jonathan Barbee, Public Service Commissioner.
Welcome back to the V, the voice of Alabama politics. Obama-Mania is rocking the state. This guy's everywhere, isn't he, Barry?
He is. He's on both sides of the political aisle, and he's on both sides of the Republican primary battle, frankly.
I was going to disagree, though. Every Republican commercial that I have seen, it is Republican against Republican. Who is out Obama-ing each other? And one of the funniest examples that I saw on the 10 o'clock news was a picture of Obama in bed with a candidate. And this is a Republican who's competing in a Republican primary.
Who might I add has been a county chairman and been a GOP activist for probably his entire life.
Yeah, I think Gerald Dial was elected as a Democrat like 7 times after Tim Sprayberry became the county chair in Cleveland County of the Republican Party.
And the other funny thing that I've seen in these commercials is where folks try to say, the incumbents say, I fought against Obamacare. And then whenever I see that, I thought, well, what did you do? I mean, on a state level, exactly what did you do to fight Obamacare?
You did nothing because you didn't have a vote in Congress.
Yeah, I mean, there was no way for him to fight for anything. But this sells,
but they started this, healthcare information exchange and
right,
all that.
But that all, they didn't know they weren't going to have to do that because it was before the court ruled on it.
But I think, what we were talking about, we were sitting up here talking earlier, I mean, there are some legitimate ones. You take like the state Senate race over in Auburn. And Mr. Whatley has been very much an activist.
Yeah, Tom Whatley gave Barack Obama $4,600. To me, that's legitimate Obama criticism.
Yeah.
That is directly tied.
Is.
If Tom Whatley gives Barack Obama $4,600, to me, it's perfectly fair to say he gave Barack Obama $4,600.
But when you say that somebody like Jim McClendon, who is a lifelong Republican, is a liberal Obamaite, I mean, that's just kind of crazy. And then you got, Obama's in the bedroom, he's in the kitchen, he's everywhere.
Tom Whatley was even dreaming about Obama while he was taking a selfie in one of them.
I know that the people of Alabama don't like the president by and large, but, is this not the craziest thing we've ever seen?
No, and that's the sad part is I talked to a political consultant friend of mine who says, look, the polling shows that Obama is extremely unpopular in Alabama, and so every chance we get, we put the word Obama in an ad or in a mailer, and it has an effect.
I think that they're confusing the voters, though, because like you said, it's in the Republican primary. Each Republican candidate's trying to see who can out-Obama the other one the most. It's really amazing to me.
We're carpet bombing Obama.
Yeah, and it's just, then the other sad thing is people really aren't talking about issues.
No, the other thing that I see, too, is that these ads also have Republicans pitted against each other in a primary, saying who has the closer ties to AEA.
Yeah.
And I still find that interesting because
what they should be talking about is about that accountability bill that they passed in the Alabama legislature about 2 years ago. Because you can rest assured, a lot of citizens in different districts throughout the state of Alabama have really good public schools and they're satisfied.
Well, for some reason among Republicans, and just a few, AEA equals Obama equals liberal equals you're going to hell.
Which is odd because, as I understand it, the majority of teachers identify with the Republican Party and vote predominantly Republican historically across elections.
If the teachers had not have voted for Bentley, had not have voted for people like Mike Hubbard and all that, these guys wouldn't have been in office. Yeah.
Well, and it's also very ironic. You could roll back 4 more, 4 years prior to this and 4 prior to that. It used to be that the trial lawyers and the gaming and the AEA was all tainted money. Now, it's very odd this year. The only money that I can see by reading news clips that they think is tainted is AEA money.
Well, trial lawyers
They changed their name, and now they contribute to Republican candidates, and they take that freely.
I'm just joking. Everybody's they've bought their way in.
And as far as gaming goes, you have the Porch Creek Indians, who have become very big players in the political process in Alabama, dumping $1 million.
Well, the truth is, I mean, there are not a lot of places where you can get money that is not controlled by the Republican establishment.
Well, and campaigns have gotten so expensive that if you want to challenge the Republican establishment as a Republican, you can't host enough fish fries to pay for that kind of a race. Some of these Senate races, they've already spent $400,000, $500,000 defending a Senate seat. If you're going to compete with that and be heard at all, you've got to go somewhere to get your money. And if you go somewhere where 70, 80% of their membership votes Republican and get your money, what's wrong with it?
Who cares? Well, I can tell you this, Henry Mabry is no liberal. So anybody that knows Henry knows that he's...
I heard one lobbyist say Henry Mabry has done more in his political career to shrink the size of government than Mike Hubbard has ever even dreamed he could accomplish.
Well, he used to be called Dr. No because he kept the budget on track. Big race, 6th district.
Easy for you to say.
Not as easy as it used to be.
Did you mean to say the replacement for the current seat that Spencer Backus is holding?
Exactly.
Is that what
That's
you were
what I
trying
was
to
talking
say?
about before my dentures flopped.
It's quite heated up there.
It is. But it looks like it's coming down to DeMarco and Beeson, doesn't it?
It does. Will Brook, though, looks like a big player in the race, at least. I don't know what his numbers look like, but...
Well, I've not seen a poll that has Will Brook in the top 2. I've seen several that have Beeson and DeMarco sort of now beginning to separate themselves. That'll be a very interesting showdown. DeMarco's very well funded. Beeson is not. DeMarco's well liked on one side of the mountain. Beeson's well liked on the other. We'll see who wins.
And DeMarco's liked on the side of the mountain where the money comes
is,
from.
Correct.
And then Beeson's on the Tea Party side, and Beeson's kind of been your, gun blowing, immigration, gun carrying, Tea Party out there. Plus, he ran for this seat once before.
Yeah, well, you don't have to wonder where Scott stands.
Yeah, you don't have to wonder.
He's not going to surprise you on election day.
No.
I mean, when the vote is cast, you'll know where he was.
No, I tend to say that people that want to know where that a guy's going to put his money where his mouth is, that's Beeson. The other one, you're going to put your money, you don't know where the mouth's going to go. That would be
well, but
DeMarco.
But it's interesting. We've had Gary Palmer, who's come from a big organization, raised a lot of money, but he can't relate to the average person, I think, in that district. And you've had the doctor, and everybody thought Chad Mathis. Everybody thought he might get some sea legs, but that hasn't worked. And Will Brooks, he's a fine person. I like Will a lot. He's been in the business community, but something.
And he can handle a firearm and a shredder. I mean, he's really good at both those things, isn't he?
Well, what he should do. Here's what he should do: is he should take a picture of Obama and put that through the shredder. Then maybe.
I don't think you can
kill
do
two
that
birds
to
with
the
one
president.
stone.
I think that may cross the line.
Anything in Alabama. No, but you can take pictures and put them in a bed with a candidate and draw little stick figures around them.
Right. Well, we've got about 1 minute. One candidate that doesn't have to even break a sweat, and he's going to win, and that's Governor Robert Bentley. He's going to get another 4 years just breezing right by.
He will, and he should. He's done a good job.
Yes.
And I don't see any reason to throw Robert Bentley out to the curb with yesterday's newspapers. He looked good starting with the tornadoes. He's led a reasonably tight ship. My only complaint would be at times it seemed Mike Hubbard and the legislature ran over him just a little bit.
Yeah.
But it could be that he just...
and maybe Seth Hammond helps him with that as the new chief of staff.
Yeah, let's hope and pray that's the case.
One thing that I think that Governor Bentley does have to focus on, particularly in the election and in the next 4 years, if he does breeze through, is the 250,000 job promise that he made during the last election cycle. We're nowhere close to that. Alabama is the one state that has seen the significant increase. So I think he does have to answer for those jobs.
Well, I think Bentley
he'll work on it.
He's saying he's going to work on all this. You're watching The V. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. There's some interesting stuff.
The V is sponsored by Spot On Strategies Group.
Welcome to Alabama's newest entertainment destination, Wind Creek, Wetumpka. The perfect escape for date night, a getaway with your friends, or a relaxing poolside cocktail. Whether it's a day trip to enjoy the best steak in Alabama or a romantic weekend, the finest Southern hospitality is just a short drive away. Wind Creek, Wetumpka. Find your winning moment.
I've directed the Environmental Protection Agency to set new standards that put an end to the limitless dumping of carbon pollution from our power plants.
Let's face it, we're all tired of Obama's liberal agenda. Now he's threatening to shut down Alabama coal plants and raise our utility rates. I'm Jonathan Barbee, and I will stand up to Obama's costly energy plan, and I will fight to keep Alabama jobs. I'm asking for your vote on June the 3rd. Stand with Barbee, and together, let's keep Alabama working.
I teach. I touch the future. I am AEA.
I keep the school clean every day for your children. I am AEA.
Congratulations on your scholarship. I help children make choices for college and careers. I am AEA.
We are AEA.
If you like Obamacare, you will love Common Core. Common Core is not just about standardizing curriculum and testing. It's about nationalizing education to fit Obama's standards. This is a bad plan. Our kids deserve better. To find out more about this rotten Common Core plan, visit alabamalimitedgovernment.com. Let's tell Washington to keep their hands off our children.
Welcome back to the V. A lot of things going on, Jack. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
We're so glad to have you this morning.
Well, pretty in pink, all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's
What
that
happened? You
time
didn't
of
get the
year.
memo. You got a little
that
orange,
time.
though.
I got a little orange, it's kind of pinkish.
Well, orange is the new pink.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Well, unless you're in prison.
Speaking of prison, Barry Moore this week, his attorney put forth a motion to dismiss his case. It was kind of a sad day, wasn't it, Barry? You were there.
It was sad. I was there. As an attorney, I was almost embarrassed for Bill Baxley. I hate saying that. I'm sure he's a fine lawyer. He's got a great reputation.
Yeah.
He did not have his best day, and I think that's because he didn't have his best arguments, because there aren't any good arguments to dismiss this indictment.
I mean, to me, sitting there and watching it, you know, Bill Baxley is a gentleman. He has had a great career, but he did not have the facts. The most interesting thing, though, was that Mike Hubbard had 5 criminal defense attorneys there at the Moore hearing. What do you make of that?
Well, and of course, you hear Mike Hubbard's lawyer saying, this Barry Moore situation has nothing to do with Mike Hubbard. Well, if he didn't, why do you have 5 lawyers at the hearing?
Exactly.
I mean,
Mark White was there.
Yeah, we know who's at the heart of all this. Mike Hubbard's at the heart of this investigation.
Yeah, and all this money he raised, that he keeps raising for all these special interests in Montgomery, it just keeps going to pay more legal
interestingly,
fees.
Barry Moore has received $300,000 in Montgomery money. Well, if you want to call Riley's PAC money Montgomery, it may as well be. I mean, Riley's PAC, Mike Hubbard's PAC, all these homers, all these associations continue to, and Alpha continuing to give Barry Moore $5,000 after an indictment. I think that's an abuse of your shareholders.
Well, not only that, some of these PACs are giving money to Barry Moore over the objection of the local members. Alpha, the automobile dealers, realtors, their local members are calling up to Montgomery screaming and throwing fits saying, stop giving this crook money. And they keep giving him money.
They're giving him money because Hubbard is leaning on to give him money.
That's what I'm saying.
It's hush money.
He's got his foot on their neck, and he's calling all these association types and saying, you got to stay with my people. And they're scared not to. They're scared of him.
We estimated that the legal fees for White and Company to be there was $10,000. $10,000.
My guess is you're probably a few $1,000s short.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably
Well, I tell you,
low.
Mark White did not look like a comfortable human being. I mean, he looked like a rapper having a bad day. I mean, the guy was twitching and grabbing himself.
They all looked like they ate
rubbing
too
his
much
head.
barbecue before they got there. They were all kind of twisted sideways and doing this.
I'm sorry I wasn't there to see this.
I didn't want to get shot.
Well, I went up and said hello to Mr. White, but he acted like I wasn't there. I did get to ask Bill Baxley if he still thought that Van Davis was from Timbuktu, and he said maybe, or the North Pole. He wasn't sure where he came from.
I mean, come on, Lord.
But, you know, this Hubbard thing is, you know, he always acted like he was such a tough guy. But in this election now, when he gets a punch, this guy's got a glass jaw. He can't take a punch to save
Oh, he
his
cries
life.
and screams.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's complaining about some phone calls he deems illegal that are running his ad, by the way. I mean, I don't quite understand that. at the same time, he was running, or somebody with an interest in that race, and I can't imagine who other than him, was running robocalls into the district saying that Sandy Toomer supported gay marriage and all these other types of things. And you know, but they didn't have disclaimers, and the whole thing is just absurd and preposterous that he can't, as a 4-term incumbent, current Speaker of the House, rise above the pettiness of the political atmosphere going on over there in Auburn and run for re-election like a man. He's not doing it.
It's like a burr under his saddle that somebody had the audacity to challenge him. That's the thing about these incumbents in general, not just Democrats, Republicans too, that they think it is a right to be in office and not a privilege.
Well, y'all, the last 8 years, and with the former governor, they just ran hurdle over this city and the town of Montgomery. They have, made millions, and they've just gotten the power, and the money has reached.
And all this like PAC money that I like, Riley's 2014 PAC, they're sending out all these mailers all over the state, tying every Republican challenger to Obama, as y'all mentioned in the last. But worse than that, they never document anything in their mailers.
No.
We send a mailer out about an issue. We put a footnote documenting the day of the vote and how the member voted.
Well, the truth doesn't matter with this crowd. It's just accusations.
Let's hope that when the voters go to the ballot box on June the 3rd, that they will see through some of this.
I think they're more sophisticated than all this Obama stuff. How do you tie Josh Pipkin, the treasurer of the Coffee County Republican Party, to Obama? How do you do it? Well, they're trying.
Who, by the way, Barry Moore said on that infamous phone call that he supported. He said, Josh, I'll endorse you next time. Just don't run against me this time. I'll endorse you next time. But now all of a sudden he's a liberal who loves Obama and vacations with Obama.
Moore must be dumber than
He's got no conscience. He cannot have a conscience and do what he's doing.
The guy shows up in court in this tan suit with sunglasses.
Oh, yeah.
He looked like he was ready to go to the Lido rather than to go to a hearing. And then he comes out and the media surrounds him. He's like, oh, it's like Jethro Bodine in a nice suit.
Well, at least he didn't do Michael Jackson and dance on the roof of the car.
It was kind of sad, to tell you the truth. But, we are in a terrible shape in this state. We are 47th, 48th, 49th in so many categories, and our politicians seem to care nothing about the issues, only about winning and having more power and making more money.
Barron pointed out in one of the last segments about how we've actually lost jobs. Since December of 2010, we've lost over 20,000 jobs in Alabama, while Texas and Florida combined have gained 2 million. Now, that tells you something. Our climate is not as great as everybody says, and all these incumbents going around saying, we have promoted job growth. Well, have you really? Or have you protected corporate Alabama? That's more what they've done.
Well, the people cannot eat promises, and that's all we've gotten out of this bunch of
just like we were talking earlier, they need to go and do things for some of the smaller existing businesses, really go down to small businesses. And it's great to get the big corporate guys from all across the overseas and other states, but you got to take care of some of your other ones, and particularly the small business folks around not only Alabama, but the whole country. They're suffering because of all the things, the federal regulations and mandates from the federal government.
And I think Bentley's hands are a little tied by this legislature. If Bentley had more help in the House and Senate, instead of people who were trying to undermine him, he would be a great governor. I think he's an excellent governor now, but he could really accomplish some great things.
Bentley wants to do the right thing, but they are only in it for themselves.
Well, but there's been that one good move. There's been a lot of good moves. I'm sorry, Governor Bentley's done a great job, but bringing Seth Hammond over is going to be that's a real feather in his cap, and I think he'll have a tremendous muscle in the legislative process the first year of the quadrennium.
We only got 30 seconds left. There are a lot of people that say indictments or no indictments, Mike Hubbard will not be reelected as Speaker of the House. What's your prediction, Jack?
A secret vote is going to be close,
If it was a secret vote, he would not be reelected Speaker of the House. The combination of this election cycle, when he promised people all this money and no opponents, and they have well-funded opponents who are beating him over the head, and his PACs are not really coming through with what they promised, combined with the Lee County Grand Jury, I don't think it happens.
We got to get out of here. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. You can catch fresh news stories every day at alreporter.com, and every Sunday, it's The V on your ABC stations throughout the state. Thank you for watching.